In this chapter, we will be discussing about the National Remote Sensing Center, Indian Regional Navigational Satellite System, significance of NAVIC, potential NAVIC use for civilian, GPS aided geo-augmented system, Indian manned mission to space, ISRO launch vehicles, challenges and opportunities for Indian space program. National Remote Sensing Center, Hyderabad. National Remote Sensing Center NRSC at Hyderabad is responsible for remote sensing, satellite data acquisition and processing, data dissemination, aerial remote sensing and decision support for disaster management. NRSC has the data reception station at Shadnagar near Hyderabad for acquiring data from Indian remote sensing satellites as well as others. NRSC ground station at Shadnagar acquires Earth observation data from Indian remote sensing satellites as well as from different foreign satellites. NRSC is also engaged in executing remote sensing application projects in collaboration with the users. Aerial services and digital mapping areas provide end-to-end aerial remote sensing services and value-added solutions for various large-scale applications like aerial photography and digital mapping, infrastructure planning, scanner survey, aeromagnetic survey, large-scale base map, topographic and cadastral level mapping. Regional remote sensing centers support various remote sensing tasks specific to their region as well as at national level. The regional centers are carrying out application encompassing all the fields of natural resources. The regional centers also involved in software development, customization and packing specific to user requirements and conducting regular training programs for users in geospatial technology, particularly digital image processing and geographical information system applications. The NRSC operates through multiple campuses to meet national and regional remote sensing data and applications needs of the country. The main campus is at Balnagar, Hyderabad for administration, remote sensing application and aerial services. The campus at Shadnagar for satellite data reception, data processing and dissemination, earth and climatic studies and disaster management support. 5 regional centers at Sector 9 KPHP in Jodhpur Regional Center West, Shadikanagar at New Delhi Regional Center North, New Salt Lake City in Kolkata Regional Center East, Amravati Road in Nagpur is Regional Center Central, Kartik Nagar in Bangalore Regional Center South for promoting remote sensing application in various states. The outreach facility at Jidimetla in Hyderabad for providing the training for professionals, faculty and students and for general outreach. Aircraft operation facility at Begumpet Airport, Hyderabad. Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. The Indian Regional Navigational Satellite System IRNSS is a regional satellite navigation system owned by the Indian government. The system is being developed by Indian Space Research Organization. In April 2016, with the last launch of the Constellation satellite, IRNSS was renamed Navigation Indian Constellation NAVIC by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. IRNSS is an independent and autonomous regional navigation system aiming a service area of about 1500 kilometers around India. The system will be under complete Indian control with the space segment, ground segment and user receivers all being built in India. It will have a range of applications including the personal navigation. IRNSS architecture. IRNSS has 7 satellites complemented with the appropriate ground infrastructure as a minimum as it is traditional in GNS system. The architecture is described in 3 different segments: the space segment, the ground segment and the user segment. The IRNSS space segment. 3 out of 7 satellites are geostationary orbit and they are located at 32.5 degrees east, 83 degrees east and 131.5 degrees east longitude. They are 4 geostationary satellites in orbits of 24,000 km apogee and 250 km perigee, inclined at 29 degrees. Two of the GSOs cross the equator at 55 degrees east and the other two at 111.75 degrees east, 2 satellites in each plane. The lifespan of the GEOs in 9.5 years and 11 years in the case of GSOs. The constellation design consideration have been mainly minimizing the maximum DOP, minimizing the number of satellites, orbital slots for India for continuous visibility with the ground locations. Ground segment. The ground segment consists of the ISRO Navigation Center, IRNSS Spacecraft Control Facility, IRNSS Range and Integrity Monitoring Station, the IRNSS Network Timing Center, IRNSS CDMA Ranging Station, Laser Ranging Stations, Data Communication Network. The ground segment is in charge of the estimating and predicting the IRNSS satellite position, calculation of integrity, ionospheric and clock corrections and running the navigation software. The user segment. The IRNSS user segment is made of the IRNSS receivers. They will be dual frequency receivers, L5 and S band frequency, or single frequency L5 or S band frequency with capability to receive ionospheric corrections. They will be able to receive and process navigation data from other GNSS constellation, and the 7 IRNSS satellite will be continuously tracked by the user receiver. The user receiver will have the minimum gain G by T of minus 27 dB by K. IRNSS services and performances. There will be two kinds of services, special position service and precision service. IGP grid to be used in IRNSS. Both services will be carried on L5 and S bands. The navigation signals would be transmitted in the S band frequency and the broadcast through a phase array antenna to keep required coverage and signal strength. The data structure for SPS and PS takes advantage of the fact that the number of satellites is reduced to 7 instead of 30, which is being used in other constellations to broadcast the ionospheric correction for a grid of 80 points to provide service to single frequency users. The clock, ephemeris, almanac data of the 7 IRNSS satellites are transmitted with the same accuracy as in the legacy of GPS, GLONASS and Galileo. The performances expected for the IRNSS system are position accuracy over 20 meters over the Indian Ocean region and less than 10 meters accuracy over India and GSO adjacent countries. IRNSS development. The Indian government approved the project in May 2006 with the intention of the system to be completed and implemented by 2015. The first satellite of the proposed constellation was successfully launched on the 1st of July 2013. It is IRNSS-1A, one of the 3 geosynchronous satellites that will compose the entire constellation. Despite the first launch was executed slightly later than the planned. At the time, India has announced the deadline of 2015 to 16 launch to the remaining 6 satellites. As in the first launch, the forthcoming will place in orbit only 1 satellite at a time. For that, it is scheduled to regular launches in every 6 months. As of 18 July 2013, the Indian Space Research Organization announced that the satellite successfully reached its defined inclined geosynchronous orbit and that the verification test would start 1 week after. Before that, in 23rd July, the German Aerospace Center was able to receive a signal transmitted by L5 band from the IRNSS-1A satellite. From the analysis of the received signal, researchers from German Aerospace Center concluded that the signal structure is consistent with what was announced as IRNSS signal plan by ISRO. On October 16, 2014, India's Indian Space Research Organization successfully launched its third navigation satellite IRNSS-1C aboard a Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle PSLV rocket from the Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. The fourth IRNSS-1D satellite was successfully placed in orbit on board the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle on March 28, 2015. The ISRO's Master Control Facility took over the control of the satellite and after that conducted several maneuvers in order to position the satellite in the geosynchronous orbit at 111.75 degrees east longitude with 30.5 degree inclination. The satellite reached its intended orbit slot on April 9, 2015. The fifth satellite of the IRNSS constellation was launched on January 20, 2016. The launch was closely followed by the sixth launch of the IRNS satellite on March 10, 2016. The seventh and the final satellite was launched on April 28, 2016. And 8 satellites was launched in 2018 to replace the failed IRNSS-1A. In 2020, IRNSS was recognized as component of IMO's Worldwide Radio Navigation System, which enables merchant vessels to use IRNSS for obtaining position information. Significance of NAVIC. It gives real-time information for two services, that is standard position service open for civilian use and restricted service which may be encrypted for authorized users like military. Currently, we use GPS system of USA for navigation. India became one of the 5 countries having their own navigation system like GPS of USA, GLONASS of Russia, Galileo of Europe and Baidu of China. So, India dependence on other countries for navigation purposes reduces. It will help in scientific and technological advancement of India. It will make Indian armed forces self-reliant, while advanced nations like US and Russia are having GPS and GLONASS. Countries like China, European Union and Japan are trying to have their own full-fledged or partial constellation. Further, with an extensive coverage, one of the stated future use of the project includes sharing the project with the SAARC nations. This will help in integration the regional navigation system further and a diplomatic goodwill gesture from India towards countries of the region. It is important for the country's sovereignty and strategic requirements. Potential for NAVIC use in civilian area. Some potential applications of the regional navigation system includes terrestrial, aerial and marine navigation, disaster management, vehicle tracking and fleet management, integration with mobile phones, precise timing as for ATMs and power grids, mapping and geodetic data capture, terrestrial navigation aid for hikers and travelers, visual and voice navigation for drivers, precision surveys. Transporters of sources such as mine ore, coal and sand in various states currently use GPS based system to check privilege and fludging. NAVIC can be used in these sectors as vehicle tracking application that is tied to revenue sharing systems of the government. Recently, the government mandated that all national permit vehicles must have tracking devices. As a pilot, many fishing boats were fitted with these devices that have a unique texting facility. NAVIC will be used in extending this facility. Lately, NAVIC was used to assess safety of unmanned level crossing. NAVIC support would be available for original equipment manufacturers. This will enhance the use of NAVIC on mobile, automotive and Internet of Things devices. Since now Indian companies and startups can do the designing part, the potential market for NAVIC based products and integrated circuits can be very large. GPS aided geo augmentation system GAGAN. It is a space based augmentation system jointly developed by ISRO and AAI to provide the best possible navigational service over Indian FIR flight information region with the capability of expanding to the neighboring FIRs. GAGAN is a system of satellites and ground stations that provide GPS signal correction, giving a better position accuracy. Services offered are aviation, forest management, railway signaling, scientific research for atmospheric studies, natural resource and land management, location based services, mobile, tourism. Gagan provides the additional accuracy, availability and integrity necessary for all phases of flight from en route through approach for all qualified airports within the Gagan service volume. Gagan payload is already operational through GSAT-8, GSAT-10 and GSAT-15 satellites. Gagan GEO's footprint expands from Africa to Australia, and Gagan system has capability to cater 45 reference stations for expansion to neighbouring countries. India's manned mission to space. In December 2018, the Indian government has announced allocation of 100 billion rupees for the first manned space mission set to be launched by 2022. An unmanned test launch of the project is likely scheduled for December 2020, also termed as Gaganyaan. This project is a part of government's ambition to make India a global low-cost provider of services in space. The launch vehicle for this mission will carry heavy payloads into space. For this purpose, GSLV Mk3 is being developed with cryogenic engine. ISRO has already tested the GSLV Mk3 with experimental crew modules, re-entry and recovery technology and crew escape system. A manned space mission is very difficult to launch in terms of complexity and need of advanced technologies. Scramjet, supersonic combustion ramjet engine. In August 2016, ISRO has successfully conducted the Scramjet supersonic combustion ramjet engine test. The Scramjet engine uses hydrogen as fuel and oxygen from the atmosphere air as the oxidizer. This test was the median short duration experiment test of ISRO Scramjet engine with a hypersonic flight at March 6th. ISRO Advanced Technology Vehicle, which is an advanced sounding rocket, was the solid rocket booster used for the test of scramjet engines at supersonic conditions. The new propulsion system will complement ISRO's reusable launch vehicle that would have longer flight durations. ISRO's launch vehicles, PSLV Polar Satellite Launching Vehicle and GSLV Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle are the satellite launch vehicles developed by ISRO. PSLV delivers the Earth observation or remote sensing satellites in polar orbit. Apart from launching the remote sensing satellite to sun synchronous polar orbits, the PSLV is also used to launch the satellites of lower mass of about 1400 kg to the elliptical geosynchronous transfer object. It is a 4-stage launch vehicle with first and third stage using solid fuels and second and fourth stages using liquid fuels. Strap-on motors are also used with PSLV to augment the thrust. The PSLV is classified into various versions like core alone version or PSLV XL variants. GSLV delivers the communication satellites to the geosynchronous transfer orbit of about 36,000 km altitude. 2 versions of the GSLV are developed by ISRO and testing phase of the third version is going on. The first version, GSLV Mk2, has the capability to launch satellites of mass up to 2500 kg to the GTO. GSLV Mk2 is a 3-stage vehicle with the first stage using solid fuel, second stage using liquid fuel and the third stage called cryogenic upper stage using cryogenic engine. Challenges and opportunities in the front of India's space program. India is still developing country with vast development and security concern. In this context, it is very difficult to justify the allocations for space missions that do not have the direct bearing on development. Successful launch of Mars orbit mission and a planned rover onto the moon surely boosted the Indian space program. But India's resilience on satellite has created military vulnerabilities. An anti-satellite missile tested by China in 2007 has also elevated the threat of a slow-moving arms race in space. DRDO is working on development of missile defense, but it is increasingly looking to the partner United States and other countries. China has launched satellites for Pakistan and Sri Lanka in 2011 and 2012 respectively. This space cooperation may become another path for China to make inroads in South Asian countries. India holds the view that resilience on the integration of outer space and cyber capabilities will only increase in further conflicts. But now, beyond the maritime domain, India has been relying on foreign partners for many other satellite based communication and data services. For instances, it continues to rely on NASA for deep space communications. Privatization may also allow India to increase its launch capacity, which is currently at 4 to 5 per year, while China does on average 20 or so launches. India does not have an explicit space policy to guide private sector participation. ISRO also has internal constraints on its capacity to deliver. The announcement of US President in June 2018 about the creation of a space force or a sixth branch of the American armed forces has worried many, including India. While India is officially committed to PAROS or the prevention of the arms race in outer space, it is yet to formulate a credible official response to such plans. India has yet to establish a credible space command of its own. In this context, China's reaction could be much stronger than its seemingly muted official responses, and it does possess a formidable space military program that far exceeds current Indian capabilities. Global entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and Richard Branson began talking of space activities as independent, profitable commercial ventures that can be termed as new space resolution. Now, the time has come for a more structured approach that enables better incubation for young talent in India. Fortunately, Anthrics is open to such ideas. Various policies and acts need to change from being restrictive to being enabling. National Remote Sensing Center at Hyderabad is responsible for remote sensing, satellite data acquisition and processing, data dissemination, aerial remote sensing and decision support for disaster management. IRNSS is an independent and autonomous regional navigation system aiming a service area of about 1500 kilometers around India. The system will be under complete Indian control with space segment, ground segment and user receivers all being built in India. It will have a range of applications including personal navigation. In April 2016, with the last launch of the Constellation satellite, IRNSS was renamed Navigation Indian Constellation by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Gagan is a system of satellites and ground stations that provide GPS signal corrections, giving a better position accuracy. PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, and GSLV, Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, are the satellite launch vehicles developed by ISRO.